Recording in progress. Good evening, ladies, good evening, gentlemen, and good evening, my dear shifters. Today is the 19th of November, 2025, and this is Paradigm Shift Weekly General AMA. I'm going to start exactly from the get-go, and I'll say it. We had, right? We had a weekly close. Where was the weekly close? Let's see. 94,265. Okay, so the weekly close was not under 92,000, but this week looks again, this weekly candle looks again weak for Bitcoin. So there is a very high probability that if something spectacular does not happen, most likely we will drift under the level where I said that for me, it's going to be the line in the sand. I have no idea how this is going to unfold going forward. I know that nobody likes to hear the B word. I've been here also in the last bull run, also when the last bear market started. And of course, nobody likes to hear the B word. But like I was saying before I started the recording, I think this will be the most important times to focus. This will be the times where 90% of the people will quit or they're already out of the market. This will be the times where we need to regroup, think what we could have done better this last cycle. Pay attention to what the markets are telling us, pay attention to some strength or strong altcoins, pockets of strength, so we can be ready to buy them when nobody will want to buy them, be it DCA in the upcoming months, be it after such a like a bigger drop. Because if Bitcoin loses 92,000, I always kept it 100 with you shifters, and I've been transparent. And I know this, I don't know, maybe you would not like me to say this. I saw some people who were a bit angry since I said that I'm turning neutral on Twitter, not on the group. Since I said that I'm turning neutral on Twitter, and since I said that under 92,000 I'm gonna turn bearish, it is what it is. That's why I started posting like since 1 month ago, and I said if you like the Mr. Spread being bullish, I hope that you're also gonna like Mr. Spread being bearish. I have no idea how much it's gonna last. We're gonna take a look at the charts. But like I said on the group, I think this was the most, if this was the top, right? If this was the cycle top, I think this was the, first of all, the weirdest cycle top that we had until now. P cycle top, Puel multiple. You saw that list, 0 out of 30 indicators showed a cycle top, 0 of the on-chain indicators. This tells me two things: that the cycle was completely different. Plus, it reconfirms my theory that price action is the absolute fucking best and the beast. I was working on a formula on my own on-chain indicator. Also, that just kept dropping. So instead of going higher, this was dropping. This is a formula based on liquidity, on some on-chain indicators. And like I said, I was still testing it. But in the same time, this was just a test. The first focus and my only focus was, first of all, liquidity, and liquidity was still fine. But most important was price action and the weekly charts. Under 98,000, you saw what happened already. Since we lost some important levels, you saw that I switched like a big chunk out of that position from EtherFi back to Bitcoin. I will update, I think in 2 or 3 days. We will have 1 month since the last update I made on the spot portfolio updates. Last time I was 25% in a stable coin, around 65% in Bitcoin, but I think with the latest dynamics, those percentages changed. Going forward, I don't even know if I want to exit those positions because they are so small percentage-wise, and they are also in like decent projects like Solana, Jupiter, EtherFi, Ray. So I have no reason to sell them. I might even accumulate during this future bear market. So all in all, this is what I plan for. Of course, if you guys and ladies have different strategies or different allocation, I would really advise to start building your Bitcoin position, be it here, be it at 85, whatever. But more about that, we're going to discuss in the upcoming months. We still didn't have that 92K under that 92K weekly close. But even if we have it, I still want to see like another week at least and continuation lower. Already the market looks pretty shaky, even if TradFi tried to bounce. But even from TradFi, how to regroup? What do you mean, Arian? How to regroup? By the way, guys, if you ask questions, just make them in detail a little bit better. Regroup means to rethink how you could have done better this cycle, instead of all the time calling buying the dip, buying the dip, buying the dip. Maybe just, you know, buying the dip on the way up, not just on the way down like it happened in the last few weeks, Aryan. We're gonna buy the dip on when the market is gonna be absolutely bled out, or whenever the market structure is gonna show us something like we did in the last cycle. Again, I will redo the spot portfolio updates. It's still, even now, the portfolio looks good. I think it outperforms a lot of the market participants because it was Bitcoin focused. Like we spoke since the bear market, this was the same plan, and this is going to be the same plan going forward. This is going to be a heavy focus, heavy Bitcoin focused portfolio, and I'm just going to hunt some of the altcoins which are going to survive and also look decent on the next drops. Aster looks good, so I might even be interested in Aster. BNB is on my radar for some drops. Hype, I might add, not I, it's like one of the top contenders to be added to my portfolio. So we should take a look at those going forward. On top of that, I really think that rotations are going to be the name of the game. I'm going to be concentrated in 4. I don't even want to say 5 altcoins. That's why I'm thinking now if, but like I said, I like the projects. I like Jupiter, I like Radium, I like all of those, but I might even take a loss on them, go back to more stable coin, and always have at least 10% stable coin. We spoke since the bear market. So all in all, what's happening right now is just a normal part of the cycle. We will do what we were doing when the last bear market started, meaning learning, getting better, educated, and adapt as best as we can to the market conditions. But I'm going to outline this again. If you don't have Bitcoin in your portfolio, this is going to be the time to start building your Bitcoin stack at 92, at 85, at 55. I don't think, because this is what I said. This is what I said in the beginning. Since this market didn't have the euphoria phase, and we didn't have that parabolic, run in Bitcoin and in altcoins, I also think that the bear market is going to be not so aggressive, because the rallies were not so aggressive and the rallies were quite muted, and it was much more structured. Of course, since the institutional investors also came, but I also think that this potential future bear market, which is knocking on the door, will not be that aggressive. Of course, I can be wrong, but this is my theory. I think that the next bear market will not see Bitcoin dropping again 75, 80%. I think in the next bear market, we're going to see how much it will be. Just give me a second. Because in my opinion, from these levels, from 92, because this is my bear market level, 92,000, a 50% drop is going to put it around 46, 48. Yes. So the bottom of the bear market of the next or of this upcoming bear market for me will be around 46, between 46 to 50,000. This means another almost 50% drop from the current values. This means around 60% drop from the all-time high. But if Bitcoin is going to drop another 45% from here, a lot of altcoins will drop another 75 to 90%. Okay, so I know it's not pretty to sell at a loss, but in my opinion, it's better to cut up like something that is bleeding to save the whole arm, instead of just watching your portfolio bleed continuously. It's never easy to take the hard decisions. It was not easy also for me to cut down that position on InterFi a few weeks ago, almost 1 month ago, but it is what it is. I think it's even more than 1 month ago. I had to respect my plan. If I respect it on the way up, I also have to respect it on the way down. Some of the people are asking why 92,000. Well, if you're gonna go on my profile, you have that option. You go on anybody profile, but if you go on my profile and there is like a search, like a magnifying glass, and you type 92K, you're gonna see how many times I was mentioning 92K on the way up, after we flipped it to weekly support, and also on the way down. And I said 98,000 is the neutral level, 92K is the bearish level. So I have to apply. Hope you're wrong. I also hope I'm wrong. But I'm sorry for you or for your future beliefs or for the way you're positioned, because price is rarely wrong, and I do my best for a long time to follow price. And I think I think this this might be the beginning of the bear market. So with that being said, let's look a little bit at the charts and actually let's do the usual thing. We're gonna look at the economic calendar first. Good. I'll put you shifters here so I can see what you are writing in case you are writing. Last time, yes, I'm. Yeah, don't worry, you can say whatever you want. The only difference is that I had a plan from many months ago, and I'm not flipping bearish too fast. Flipping bearish too fast would be 98,000. My plan was 98 neutral, 92,000 is bearish. So if this week we close under 92 and next week we open under 92 and continue under 92, for me, the bear market has started and I'm already quite nicely positioned for it. Hello, Sammy, and hello to everybody who just joined. Like I said before we started speaking about the charts, the US government restarted and we had quite some good data. The Empire State Manufacturing Index, which is for the New York area, jumped from 10.7 to 18.7 and the forecast was 6.1. So that was very good. Again, we had Mr. Donald Trump speaking. I told you, if you are not in this market in his last term, expect Mr. Donald Trump to speak at least one time per week, one time per month, but he's going to speak at least 2 times. So he is a figure. He's a talker. You're gonna see him speaking a lot. This time he spoke, I think, about Epstein files. He had the Saudi Arabian prince in the White House. He had other celebrities like Cristiano Ronaldo, etc. Nothing of economical importance like on the calendar. It's good that he's making deals with the Arabs. If you pay attention to my tweets, you would notice that I said that, and again, this is my theory, that he will not allow a bear market on TradFi and oil above 80 until he does not know that he either fully secures the midterms next year or he fully lost the midterms next year, which I highly doubt because he's going to do his best to keep the Americans happy. How do you keep Americans happy or the general folk in the United States happy? You give them high stock prices or at least stable stock prices so their 401ks do not take a huge hit, their pension funds, and you do not allow oil to rally too much above levels where their gas refills would be too expensive for their lifestyle. Okay, so that's it. So that's about his speeches and what he did this week. We had unemployment claims last time, because it was not last week, it was 2 months ago almost. We had 219,000. Obviously, we didn't have any forecast since the government was shut down, and the expectation and the result came at 232. Again, good numbers, under 250,000. No recession, no hard landing, no nothing for now. So still, the job market looks okay for now in United States. The first red flag and the first signal would be around 250,000. But like I said, I want to see it at 250 to 80 and above 300. When we're going to have 300 and 1 or 2 weeks above 300,000 and continuing to rise above 300,000, this is when you'll know that the United States job market has problems. We had the CPI from Great Britain, which was higher than expected, but lower than previous. FOMC meeting minutes didn't show anything unusual from the last time. Again, when you see someone speaking about the FOMC meeting minutes like some revolution, please take it with a huge grain of salt, because the FOMC meeting minutes are just a recap of what happened in the last FOMC meeting. So it's nothing new. The markets know about them. Extreme, maybe one time in 100 cases, they have any huge impact on the markets. Tomorrow, I know it's weird, but again, we had the government shutdown. We're going to have the trifecta with the average hourly earnings, the non-farm employment change, and the unemployment rate. The NFP is expected to double from 22,000 to 53,000, and the unemployment rate is expected to stay stable. Since we had the Empire State Manufacturing Index, by the way, I don't want to jump above to not speak more about these ones. But since this is the first piece of data after the government reopened, I'll also take it to the grain of salt. I'll do my best for the current trades, which I have to be either in stop loss with break even or in stop loss with profit or some trailing stops until tomorrow, if I'm going to have anything open. But I'll do my best to have all the trades closed, because this kind of data can have like funky moves on the market, because they are this is not the usual day for this. The NFP and the other two, so this trifecta usually comes in the first Friday of a new month. Now, the unemployment rate, we spoke about it, about the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. I think it's going to surprise to the upside, given the fact that also the Empire State Manufacturing Index surprised to the upside. We're going to have again the unemployment claims. These were due from the last time. And let's see what are going to be the expectations. So now we had 232,000. So let's see if it's going to be lower and or higher compared to this number. Existing home sales expected to rise, so no problem from the United States housing market so far. Retail sales from Great Britain, and we're gonna start with the manufacturing and with the services PMI. Euro area, Germany, Lagarde speaking. After that, UK and United States. Good numbers also from United States. As you can see, United States is still leading. If you read the Monday report, which I wrote, you will see that I'm still saying that European Union sectors are still lagging, while United States is still continuing to lead globally. Flash services PMI expected at 51.9, so above expansion, which is 50, and manufacturing PMI still above expansion levels. And also, you're going to have the revised University of Michigan. So UOM means University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment, which is also expected to stay stable. The week is going to be closed by Ms. Lagarde. Why is she speaking so many times? Where is she? Trilateral Commission in Vienna. Okay, this might be important. So if you have trades this week on the euro or euro cross pairs, maybe it's not a bad idea to have them closed as usual before the weekend, because we might see some fireworks from Miss Lagarde. The chances from a macroeconomic perspective, I don't understand how the XY became bullish. Risk assets became bullish. I think it was a comma here. Risk assets started to look choppy so fast because the macroeconomic indicators are still in a good shape. I think that there are some underlying data. First of all, maybe because of the growth expectations, maybe, I think that one of the biggest drivers for this current DXY rally is the fact that more and more people realized, and again, especially the bond traders, especially the FX traders, which are significant. We just saw that every day there are like $9 trillion being traded in the FX market, and euro dollar has the biggest proportion out of those. And when they understood that Federal Reserve most likely is not going to cut in December, remember that, Jan, and for everybody who is watching, because we spoke about the interest rate differentials, right? So if we had bad data or worse data from United States, and the markets would have thought that Federal Reserve is going to price in another cut, or Powell with the in his last speeches, if he had hinted at more cuts for this year, for sure the dollar would have continued to the downside, or it's a very high, not for sure, it's a very high probability that the dollar would have continued lower. But since as you saw in today's post, and as you're going to see on my charts with the 3-month bond yields overlapped with the FR, with the effective federal fund rates, there is no cut being priced in now, and there is not much time left until the next meeting. So like I said in the post on Twitter, something really bad has to happen in the United States in order for the bond yields, for the short-term bond yields to drop so much, in order for the markets to believe that Federal Reserve is going to cut in December. Since they are not cutting in December, or there is a high probability that they're not cutting in December, the interest rate differentials favor the dollar. On top of that, you will see on the monthly chart that the DXY was already hitting a support and bouncing. Because it was hitting a support and bouncing, most likely we're going to have a continuation. I'm in between, so I'm very flexible with my views and my positioning on the dollar. Why? Because yes, we bounced from 96, but between 1013 and 1017, I refined my level. actually the monthly resistance is like a full area. It's 1013 up to 1017. So at 1013, if this rally is gonna continue on the DXY, or if this bounce is gonna continue on the DXY, I'll be very cautious with my DXY longs or with my shorts on euro dollar or GBP USD shorts, or longs on USD CHF or longs on USD JPY, because on that area I expect a rejection. If we continue above 1017, most likely we're going to continue much higher for the upcoming months, maybe even 2 quarters from now. So the dollar gets power because the market is not pricing in another cut. If another cut is not priced in, remember the interest rate differentials, right? So they don't expect, right, the bond yield for the United States and also for the interest rate differentials between the euro and the dollar for the bonds to tighten, right? So it's still gonna stay at this level. So more demand for the dollar based on this until they're gonna price in another cut. Second, we bounce from 96. And third, and last thing that I have to say here, the second biggest weight in the DXY basket, look here. The second biggest weight in the DXY basket as a currency comes from JPY, right? So for everybody who is here, this is a refresh of your memory. Euro has 57.6, JPY has 13.6, the pound has 11.9, the Canadian dollar 9.10, the Swedish krona 4.2, and the Swiss franc 3.6. So like this, maybe you'll also understand how important are these currencies and their moves, so you can have like a better understanding or a better correlation if you're trading Forex. So whenever the euro moves a lot, obviously it's going to move a lot the DXY basket. But the second strongest one, or the second biggest weight, it has the JPY. Now, let's jump directly to the JPY so I can show you shifters how important. And I think this is the third reason. Like the third reason for the current DXY move is because the JPY was losing and is losing a lot of room, or it's like is losing a lot of ground to the dollar. I also had two trades, one trade almost 3 weeks ago and the second trade last week for the JPY. Luckily, the second one was done with half size. So I got stopped out on that short, but it was done from a very strong resistance, confluence of resistances, call it however you want. It was also a supply area. However, as you can see, the JPY is just getting absolutely destroyed versus the dollar. And this looks like a runaway breakup. No signs of this gap being filled right now. And if this is looking how it's and if this is going how it's going, I would not be surprised to see this breaking 157, going to the first intermediate resistance around 158.5, and towards the March 1999 resistance. However, I will check this new target that I have on JPY, and I'll show you. So above 157. So if this is breaking, 158 is actually, the next target is this one, 162. It's going to face a lot of resistance around 158. So we still have around 110 pips. I don't think it's going to have the juice to break it from one go, but this looks extremely, extremely bullish. That's why I drew those lines there. So I can show you shifters the runaway breakout, which is extremely important. And if this is gonna unfold like I think it's gonna unfold, it can push to the next level, and this can give more juice to the DXY. So the fundamental reasons I just told you, the interest rate differentials between the euro area and the Federal Reserve, right, and the United States area, and no cuts being priced in until the end of the year, until next year, means more just to the dollar. The bond market sees it the same. And now also the JPY gives a lot of strength to the dollar. So there you go for the reasons why the XY looks so strong right now. What was... Fuck. I think this is it, 160. Do you remember which? Hold on a second. That's a very, very, I don't know why I don't have it here on my chart. BOJ intervention. Yeah. Yeah, it's way above it. So it was up until 150. So here it was like here between 147 and 150. And we see that this price action was not the most organic price action that it had. And after that, nothing happened. So this was the BOJ intervention area, 147, 150. We are way above it. So just watch on the chart. I have no doubts that it's gonna tap 157.3, 157.4. Let's see how it's gonna react from that, but I would not be surprised to see something like this. As long as JPY holds above 156, so above this area, and even on a pullback holds above 154.7, 155, so above this cluster from here, it looks extremely, extremely bullish. Especially after it just smashed the supply area that we talked about there, where I had the short and I got stopped up. So now this looks very, very bullish. I would not stay in front of this, and you'll see that this has a spillover. So it helped euro dollar, and even if it finds some support here, this is a weekly level, by the way. Even if it finds some support around 155.5, I would use this to reshort it. So here, this is another short, this is another short, this is another short. Anything under 1.16 area for euro dollar is just another reshort. Same for USD CHF. If it drops to here or even to lower levels, as long as it stays above 0.798 or 0.8, which is this demand area. Again, this was supply because this was flipped to supply, and I was flipped again to demand. And today we flipped another area to demand from supply. So this looks very, very strong also. Had a huge false break here, huge false break. That's why most of my shorts were closed either here or either on this bounce around this level. And I didn't try to reshort it again because it didn't make any more sense, especially after we covered here and euro dollar was losing those levels. But for now, DXY looks strong. Now, this is, and again, yes, short term, we might face some resistance around 99.8, 100. And this is what I was telling you shifters about. This is that monthly chart that we have been tracking for a lot of time. Go back, like I said, go back in January or in March, and especially in March, and after that in April, and you'll see that we were talking since then above 95, 96 area as a confluence of supports. It is a confluence of supports because it's the intersection of the up or down trend line, this one. It's the intersection of the lower uptrend line with the multi-yearly support from 95, 96. So no surprise that we have a bounce here. Let's see what type of reaction we have. This is the area that I was mentioning to you. I was mentioning to you shifters. So 101.3, 101.7. Let's see if the XY bulls have the juice to make this as a higher low, to make this as like a huge multi-decade higher low. But in order for this to happen, this is what I want to see. This here. I mean, I don't want to see these rejections. If DXY means business from here, has to take out this level. If I want to be like a full bull on DXY for like a longer period of time, I want to see, first of all, this area being flipped to demand. So above this, a monthly close above 105.3 and a continuation above 109. As you can see here, for 1, 2, 3 months, we had only rejections. If by any mean until spring next year, right? So in the upcoming months, we see DXY breaking above 101.7, breaking above 153. Above 105.3, I have to flip full bullish on it. Until then, I'll just be very flexible. And no, so here it's going to be neutral to bullish, and full bullish is going to be around 109, targeting like higher levels. Because this would mean that this is like a huge multi-decade higher low. For now, I'm just rotating on this bounce, and I'll see what's going to happen after next week, how we're going to close this month, and we can speak more about it. So bearish on euro dollar short term, bullish on USD CHF short term, bullish on USD JPY short term, and I have a beautiful trade still on Euro GBP that I'm going to keep it for longer. Oil does exactly what we spoke about. it's being pressured by the Saudis, in my opinion. I know it's a conspiracy theory. I rarely speak about these kind of things, but when I look at an asset, especially such a liquid asset, pun intended, and I see how suppressed it is, this does not smell like organic price action. This just tells me that the market is being flooded by the Qataris, by the Saudis to keep Mr. Donald Trump happy so they can receive those construction contracts for the United States and for other parts of the world. And oil most likely is going to stay under 80 for a long period of time. I don't know, 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters. I don't even know, because if you remember when I wanted to say a global conflict or like a major conflict, we had the conflict near Iran, near the Hormuz Strait, where more than I think 40-50% of the oil of the global oil is passing, and look what happened. Oil just bounced a bit and immediately retraced. And how much we had the conflict between Iran and Israel, and look what happened. Nothing burger. So I don't know what type of catalyst on the fundamental side oil needs in order for it to rally really, really hard. So bearish on oil. Any rejection that you see on oil towards 66, 67, or like this kind of, especially if it's gonna rally by, but I don't see the oil rallying 35% from here. So bearish on oil. Any bounce that you see, and after that it rejects on daily, I think it's a good opportunity to short. Moving average agrees, Ichimoku agrees, fully agrees. Look, on weekly, if you see it bouncing towards 66, 67, that's your lever to short. Gold started to look constructive. We had a very nice rally towards 4,200. And this looks like a nice sequence of higher lows. As long as it stays above, like I was speaking today with Jay and with Christy, as long as it stays above 4,050, 4,050, but this area from here, I don't think that shorts make so much sense. Look how quickly these lows were bought up and what type of candles we had. So in my opinion, a short on this is if we lose this structure. So under this area, and maybe, not maybe, for sure, just under 4,000. Under 4,000, you might think about some shorts, targeting 3,950. After that, the lows from here, and we can open 3,800. But be careful, because on the weekly, we are in a full bull run for gold, full bull run for gold. Even if we're going to drop a little bit lower. But like I said, I don't know if you remember, I think it was 2 weeks ago, gold might consolidate here for the next quarters, like it did here. Gold might do something like this, okay? So it might just do something like this until it's the next leg up. This is the behavior that gold has. It, after a rally, it consolidates for a lot of time. Of course, it can also distribute from here, but I really doubt that this is the cycle top for gold. I think this is extremely bullish. Only under 3,100, I'll flip bearish on gold and think about like heavy shorting. Until then, be careful. I think it's way better from a mathematical position to wait for some highs or for some confirmations. Look, for example, here Ichimoku tells you to not do anything. If I'm taking this also as a signal, Ichi tells me to not do anything here. And it is going to look much clearer above 4,200. And makes a lot of sense. But shorting, maybe under 3,850 to attack some lower levels, but it's tricky. I would not short gold, man. I would not short gold. I think it's playing with fire, shorting gold, until we don't have a definitive cycle top, and this is not it. Silver the same. It was a little bit cleaner on silver to think about some shorting when it printed the second top, and we could have signaled a double top. But look, even silver, imagine you try to short silver because you think that this is a double top, and it just stops here. And in this structure, if you think about it, exactly like I was showing you on gold above 450, this can just be another higher low. This was a low, this was a high, this was a higher low, this was a higher high, and this can be a higher low. So let's just wait and see. Especially with silver, I would really recommend for you to study it before you start trading it, and especially shorting it. It can rip your face. Look here, look what happened here. Like this kind of candles. Okay. Platinum just above this level. I'm interested again. We spoke above it above 1,606. 1,600 actually is the area where I'm interested to long it again. This looks good, but similar to platinum, palladium, the same. I want to see it above 1,500. 1,185, 1,500 to long it again. The copper spot trade is still valid, and I'm letting it roll. So I just want to conclude on what we were talking. No cut until now. This is what I meant, that some bad things have to happen. We just have 2 more weeks. Oh, 3 weeks. Okay. We have 3 more weeks for this to go something like this, and it's less likely. This should have started from here in order for us to see another cut being priced in. Now, as you can see, we even bounced to the upside, and this is the new liquidity dynamics between the Federal Reserve and Treasury. So let's see what's going to happen forward, but I'm in the camp of a no cut for December. We are very far from a cut. The 3-month bond yield, so the orange line, has to be at least at 3.57. Actually, not at 3.57. Hold on. 3.88. Let me not 0.88 minus 25. So 363 to be more precise. 363. Because this is where we are now. Or the effective federal fund rate. So the delta to be 25 basis points has to be at 3.63. Still, even if I raised the potential target, we are very far from it for the next 3 weeks. I will update you, shifters. If something happens, I will update you, but for now, nothing. And now to the most interesting part of the show from the TradFi. Dow Jones, which was rallying since April, it's very likely that it lost the current bull structure. I'm still waiting because, you know, I don't care so much about channels. I care much more about structures, and the last higher low was somewhere around this area. So I'm not in the camp of calling a top right now, but if we see a drift lower towards 45,000 and 45,000, which was a resistance from July until August, so resistance, and after that confirmation candle and rally higher. If sellers will manage to push Dow Jones towards 45,000 and under 45,000 on the weekly close, most likely this is also going to be the top for TradFi, or at least for Dow Jones. S&P 500 looks a little bit more bearish. If you remember, since last week, I said that under 6,600, I would flip neutral. Where is the moving average? We are far from the moving average. But short term, also based on Ichimoku, also based on market structures, I have to respect what I said, and I'll flip neutral here. So here I'm neutral. Ichi, what does it say? And short term says under 6,500, you can flip bearish. Nasdaq. Today in the morning, I was discussing with Laura, I was discussing with Christy and some other shifters on the chat, and I said that I'm watching this potential falling wedge. I don't want to front run it because look what's happening with Dow Jones, look what's happening with S&P. So we're on the weaker side. So I'll wait for a close above 24,800. So above, maybe even higher, 24,850, above the high from last Tuesday. No, from this Tuesday. What? From the highs from Tuesday, and above this area, I might be interested in a long with some stop losses here intraday, but not now. So I know that some of you, I saw Laura taking a trade today, but I don't like it right now. Even if we are in the demand area, I would let others deal with this. Plus, we have an event tonight. I think tonight is the Nvidia earnings. Let me double check. Yeah, so today, this evening, European time and afternoon time, 22 chances to beat the fuck. The last thing that this market needs is for Nvidia to miss the earnings. Thank you, Insight, for the update. If Nvidia misses the earnings, It's not going to be pretty, because most likely having such a big weight in the S&P 500 and also for the tech sector, it can drag along the AI sector, the tech sector, and it can drag the TradFi market down. And the last thing that we need for the crypto space right now is for the TradFi market also to roll over. But we cannot say that we didn't expect this, right? So under 98K neutral, under 92K bearish. Uh, I think there is a high probability that, okay, NVIDIA misses the earnings. And if NVIDIA misses the earnings, this is just a confirmation, it's just a fundamental fuel for a further down move from Bitcoin and other risk assets. I think that the worst news does not come from Dow Jones or from S&P or from Nasdaq, not even from DAX. DAX, I told Christy today because he's one of the most active DAX traders from our group, that DAX lost the uptrend which it had since May this year. So we were in an uptrend for almost 200 days. And the fact that we lost this, so we didn't bounce from here, although we bounced. How many times I said this? This kind of bounces, look, this bounce from here has to take it above the previous higher high. If this is an anemic bounce like this one, this just shows clear weakness. And look how important this area was, 24,370 up to 24,500. So this, if buyers meant business, they should have sent it higher. This structure, you can overlap with the monthly structure of the DXY, right? So look at DAX here. Structures are structures. Once you're going to learn structures in price action, you can apply them to any time frame. You can apply them to any asset which has normal liquidity, good liquidity. So look at this. This is the last higher high. This is the last higher high from here. And we have this now. And if this bounce is very weak, so this bounce was very weak. Now, if it comes, if DXY comes and even it takes out these areas, but fails to reclaim 109 and it stops somewhere around here, well, that's going to be a nice short opportunity. And who knows, maybe this is how the bear market will unfold. It's going to take until August, September next year. It will not be able to put up a new high there. And after that, when it's going to start dropping, maybe this is where we're going to have the bear market lows of the next bear market. And from there, we can start thinking again of buying altcoins, etc. In the meantime, we can just build a healthy stack of Bitcoin, right? So maybe this is how DXY is going to unfold. But that's why I wanted to show you DAX. Although this is the daily time frame and this is the monthly time frame, structures are structures. So this low looks very weak compared to this low, and the next move from the DXY has to go at least above 109. So, and I would say even above this one, but above 109 starts to look very, very promising. That's why I'm very, 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 very fluid on DXY trading, very fluid. And I can, like Jay asked me if I'm changing my stance. Yes, I changed it, but I can change it in a heartbeat. So this was about DAX. And I said like the worst piece of data for crypto short term does not come from Dow Jones, S&P, Nasdaq, or DAX, comes from IWM. We spoke about IWM in the last few weeks, and this looked like the distribution. Had an amazing run for 145 days. It rallied 21%. But since like for more than 1 month, it couldn't produce new highs. And these were all-time highs. And because it couldn't produce new highs, it entered the distribution phase. People who bought, and by the way, it has 20% from June. But if you look from the lows from April, it has more than 40%. That's a lot of money for TradFi investors. So I'm not surprised to see some profit taking right here, especially with the weakness that we have on bigger indexes. And this is why I said that this is the worst piece of news for, especially for altcoins. Think about IWM, which is the Russell 2000, which are the small caps of United States. Think about them as total free. Or if you want, you can overlap Ethereum chart on it. Let me see if total free or Ethereum is better here. The correlation, I think, is extremely high between these two, right? As you can see, Ethereum also bottomed in April, rallied, but it couldn't produce new highs, and it entered the distribution phase. Also, this one the same, it entered the distribution phase, and now we are just seeing it slipping lower. This is what I'm saying. This is the worst piece of news that we can have for altcoins, and that's why I think this is another confirmation that most likely the bear market has started. I know it does not sound pretty nice, and I know me included, I wanted to have a different type of journey this cycle with the altcoins. I think you had to be extremely lucky to be in rally ones or to have a lot of rotations in order to squeeze the maximum of this market. But I cannot say that I'm upset at all. My largest stack was Bitcoin. Still, my largest stack is Bitcoin. Going forward, also my largest stack will be Bitcoin. But most likely, I'll do more rotations. Or to answer again to Aryan, another type of regrouping that I'm thinking about is to have Bitcoin and a longer term portfolio where I'll post the spot portfolio updates, and to make another portfolio, and I'm going to call it rotations. I'm going to take 10% from my usual stack, right? 15% of my spot stable coins. I'm going to pick 2 or 3 altcoins, and I'm going to rotate the fuck out of them, right? So I'm going to pick some leaders, and I'll juggle with them, because I think this was one of the things that I should have done, and I could have done better this cycle, is rotate more. I didn't want to do that because in other cycles, if you are over rotating, you could have just chopped off your portfolio. But maybe this is going to be the way going forward, to pay attention more to rotations. Let's double check. Let's double check, guys. Yeah, so I didn't check, but it says that Nvidia will beat the quarterly earnings. I was also surprised a bit, but I took it like you guys wrote it there. I was surprised because the AI sector is just flying. So now I checked Jay's link. It shows 84% to beat the earning. So at least at least a breath of fresh air. But I don't know how much that is going to help. Because I want to show you something else. A PO3? Yes, I know what you mean. It can, but in order for it has to do something like this, and after that, well, who knows? Who knows? Maybe. But I can tell you something. Sammy said maybe he's building up a bullish PO3. It's not a distribution. This is a lot of profit for TradFi, especially for, even if you didn't buy the absolute bottom, you still have between 30 to 35% profit. There will be some profit taking. And look what my good friend is saying here, and it's rarely wrong. Rarely wrong. It's the first time since we broke above the Kumo, and this is the daily chart, is the first time since we broke above the Kumo when we had the TK bearish crossover. Plus, look at this. Just look at the Chiku span, right? Okay, we had another bearish crossover here, but the Chiku span was above the price and also above the Kumo, above the Kijun. Now we had the TK bearish crossover. We have the price inside the structure. Plus, we have, for the first time since June, we have the Kumo flipping from thick and green to thin and red. We have the price inside the Kumo and also almost out of the Kumo to the downside. We have the price, we have the Tenkan-sen and Kijun-sen inside the Kumo. Plus, this is like the second important intersection. Whenever you see the Chiku span breaking from above to the downside and under Kijun, and you have this second intersection, right, with this second bearish crossover, this is usually a very, very bearish sign, or at least a reversal sign from bullish to bearish. How does it look on weekly? On weekly does not look that bad, but even if I look in like in the past, for IWM was so this indicator. Let's see. Maybe we're not gonna have such a big downturn, but this shows that this is the top. it's a very high probability that this was the top for IWM. Let's see for how much time. Maybe we have a bounce, and after that we can have a drop lower, some sort of a consolidation to feel the bullish PO3 that you were talking about. But I don't expect, and I'm sorry to say it, I hope I don't kill some dreams. I don't see such a Santa rally, even with the liquidity that it might come, and I'm watching some liquidity dynamics. I'm a little bit reluctant around this area. Okay. And this was like for a riskier risk assets, like a riskier for risk assets lower down the curve, because we start from TradFi and we go to, you know, IWM and after that Bitcoin and after that altcoins. This is not a good sign because this is a leading indicator for altcoins. This usually leads with 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, so if this is falling now, most likely altcoins, if it's not bouncing from here, and most likely it's not going to bounce from here, oh, who knows, man. I still think we still have another 4 to 5% lower, and before we can have some type of recovery. I don't think the bear market is starting because there is no bear market on S&P 500. It's like this is just a correction on the US indexes, but this type of correction can put a lot of pressure on already a weaker Bitcoin and already a weaker crypto sector. Yeah. What else? Banking sector looks okay. Barely hanging. The regional bank sector barely hanging here. I'm also watching the commercial real estate ETF. So I'm watching a lot of sectors to see any type of cracks in the United States economy. The guys from Market Radar have been bearish for 1 month now, and with good reasons, as you can see. For the last month, although we had some bounces, they were not enough to produce new highs. On IWM, we had a distribution. On Bitcoin, we just dropped since 125,000. So I'm watching these guys because they have like solid data. So they are another confirmation for me. All in all, TradFi looks so-so, but because TradFi looks so-so, this can put pressure on the crypto space. So now, let's see the good, the bad, and the ugly for the crypto space. I found some good for the crypto space. The good part, or at least still the good part, is that on the total cap, so on the total crypto market cap, we are still somewhat okay. So we had the low, we had the higher low, the higher high, the higher low, the higher high. So let's see if we can find the higher low in this area. This was the distribution. And since the distribution, we just dropped. Okay, we also had the distribution here and we dropped. So let's see if this area and the drop can produce a higher low, like this area and the drop produced a higher low. It would be very reasonable. It would be very reasonable. But the fact that we had the distribution here and Bitcoin cannot find the bottom, like Bitcoin can, this is the biggest problem for total cap. If I would look at this chart, I would say that this is not the place to short. But if I see a weekly close under this area and the next week opens under this area and continues under $3 trillion, the chances for the cycle top really increase, right? Because look at Bitcoin. And again, none of the on-chain indicators show cycle top, but on-chain indicators, you know that the price action is and would always be king. What I did for the total cap, I did the same for Bitcoin. And this was the previous higher highs and higher lows. I didn't count this as higher lows because they were not higher lows in this structure, right? So I was just following it here from the, I can count this as a low, right? Low, high. Doing my best to still, you know, try to find that. That's why I don't agree at all with what Aryan said, that I flipped the bearish too soon or too fast. Because this, if you remember, I had like other sequence here of higher high. So I had here higher low, higher high, and this was the higher low, and we lost them. So I'm still doing my best to still find some potential bullish things. But as you can see, even this I know you like it, Jay, but even this feels a little bit stretched. So the low, the high, the higher low, the higher high, the higher low, the higher high. And here is the place where Bitcoin has to find the bottom, or at least the local bottom. But shifters, 92,000 was for a long time my line in the sand, and we lost 92,000. Let's see how we close it. We lost 98, we lost 100. First of all, we lost 108, we lost 198, and now we are losing even 92. We didn't produce not even like a little bit of a bounce here, we are just slicing through this level. And look how critical was this level since, look here how important, November last year. We broke above it, we produced new all-time highs, we had the correction, and after that, since April, we stayed above it on weekly. So this is 210 days. If we lose this, and the next week we retest it without reclaiming, without printing some type of false break, it's not going to look good, because we're going to open, I'll tell you directly, we're opening some lower levels. So the next level for me is going to be between 82 to 85, somewhere around this, and even 74. These are the next levels. And if this is happening, so if we have a weekly close under this area, the next week opens here, it's going to be the first weekly low since, I don't even know when was the last weekly low, because look how strong this, I don't remember. No, it's just going to be the first weekly low of this bull run, the first weekly low. So I'm a price action follower. It's not going to be easy. Not everybody is going to agree with me. Like not everybody agreed with me here. So when we were here, right, and we were dropping, and after this, we had this break and we had this retest. Here, not everybody agreed with me that here for, again, I didn't sell the top shifters, and I'm going to make the post about it, right? So I didn't sell this top, 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 right? Although I exited to Bitcoin. And most likely, if this is going to be the cycle top, it means that I didn't sold the top. But I'll take some actions. Or I thought to take some actions, because I don't know if it's going to make sense to sell these altcoins. But most likely, I'm going to get rid. Let's just say I'm going to get rid of 50% of them, and I'm going to flip them to a stable coin. So I didn't sell this top, not this top, not this top. And if I'm going to do this here, I would have missed the top. Like I missed the bottom. I didn't buy here. I didn't buy here. I didn't buy here. I didn't buy here. I bought at a retest, and I bought around 21,400. This was the first time I bought Bitcoin this cycle. And when I said that the bear market ended for me, a lot of people said, "Oh, are you crazy? The bear market didn't end." A lot of people were not agreeing. And even in Paradigm, were like, "Oh, we're not shorting anymore," because we were shorting for, look, since somewhere where I said that for me, but the bear market started somewhere around this area. Let me show you. So I remember I had a bear flag, and Elon started selling. When we closed weekly, so here around 40,000, 38,000, right? So for me, the bear market started here. Of course, I took profit on the way up and also on the way down. But for me, this was the bear market when we lost this area from here, and we lost also 36,000. Was it late? Was it early? I don't know. But from here, we dropped another 55%, 56%. Well, this 56% on Bitcoin meant another, from this point when I said that the bear market started, meant another 85 to 95% on some altcoins. So people who just follow what I said here could have saved between 80 to 95% of their portfolio from this point. Already their altcoins were down. Maybe how much was Bitcoin down here? Their altcoins were already down 70%, right? But after being down 70%, they dropped another 80 to 95%. Okay, so imagine from 100,000, right? You have 30,000, but you could have saved, not necessarily, let's say you don't sell everything, but instead of from 100,000 being left with 4,000, 5,000, you're being left with 30,000, and you have another thing to work with. It's much easier to recover from 30, 35,000, even 25,000 back to 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 in the bull run than to recover from $4,000 or $5,000. So to come back to what I was saying previously, I didn't sell the top here, although I sold, but I didn't declare a bear market there. I was selling on the way up, and I was asking people to sell on the way up because it was too parabolic for my taste. But Here it was the bear market, and from here we had another drop, similar to here, right? So not here, not here, not here. If this is the bear market, I expect Bitcoin to drop 40-45%. If Bitcoin is going to drop 40-45%, most of the altcoins will drop between 70 to 90-95%, depending on the drop. Okay, that's it. Will I despair, or do I think that this is not the end of the world? Actually, a lot of people were not able to properly allocate assets, or to properly to properly have allocations in this cycle, for different reasons. They missed on hype, they missed on Solana, they missed on BNB, they missed on Sui, they missed. We will have a lot of opportunities to buy our favorite altcoins, projects which will survive and are going to look strong. We're going to have opportunities in the upcoming months, quarters, if this is the bear market, to buy strong projects at discount prices. That's it. Does this mean that I can be wrong here? Yes, it means that I can be wrong here and Aryan can be right and this is not the bear market. But I had the plan, like I had the plan before the bear market, and I said, whenever this is going to happen and it's going to go above some levels, we were discussing. When we dropped under 25 and under 21 and we were around 12, 16, I said, if we go above 20 and 21, I'm going to start buying Bitcoin. I don't care about what people are going to say. And I bought regularly. Now the same thing. If we drop under 98 and under 92, most likely I'm going to sell all of my altcoins to Bitcoin or just to stablecoin, and I'm going to wait. Let's see. Insight says, people say that this was the worst cycle, probably because too much altcoin allocation. But in my opinion, it has the best looking structure, sign that Bitcoin is maturing. I can tell you why it was why people say that this was the worst cycle. First of all, for what you said, because people didn't allocate enough to Bitcoin. And I hope this was a lesson. And I hope you guys and ladies are going to start with allocations in Bitcoin first here. And second, and not second, but the second plus many other arguments, we had market dilution. Last cycle, we had 10,000 altcoins maximum. So it was easy for the pockets of strength and for the liquidity to move from one sector to the other and have like massive rallies. Now we were having 10,000 altcoins per day appearing on pump.fun, shed.fun, x.fun, fuck.fun. So we had so many, plus we had Trump launching his altcoin, we had the Libra coin, we had Melania coin, we had so many big extraction events that left retail with gunk. So whenever the alt season should have started, right, most of retail were out because they were getting wiped left and right. Plus now in the end, imagine on like 6th and 10th of October, I don't remember exactly the date, we had like another huge liquidation event because of whatever the fuck happened with the APIs of market maker checks, etc. So whenever we had a bit of green on the markets for different reasons, dilution of the market, liquidity extraction coins, etc., retail didn't have enough money to deploy. Plus, we didn't have enough fresh blood. So it was like a vicious circle because, we had these liquidation events, extraction events, etc., call them however you want. The retail who was here, us included, most of the people, right? A lot of people deployed their, they were chasing, this one or that one, and the money were just being extracted from the markets. Whenever we should have had the alt season, the majority of people were wiped, so they couldn't buy these altcoins. Even if we had dilution, we could have had much bigger rallies. But because the retail were wiped and the liquidity was extracted, the altcoins were not rallying, and the FOMO feeling was not there. So it was very vicious circle. Liquidity extraction, people being left with no money to pump the coins, the altcoins were not pumping, and because the altcoins were not pumping, new retail was not coming and to buy their new bag or to buy the bags at higher prices, to send the price at higher prices. And because new retail was not coming and the FOMO feeling was not there to, add more liquidity, it was just muted rallies. I also think that because COVID, people staying in house and don't have where to spend the money, they buy altcoins. True, but if you think about this cycle, we had way much more, we had more liquidity, Sergio. So by dynamics, I think we had almost 3 times more liquidity than in the last cycle. So the money was there initially, but those funds were moving very fast, like I said, from those extraction events, from retail to institutional or to market makers, etc. And new retail didn't have the FOMO feeling to come because the rallies were very muted, or we had pockets of strength. Retail does not come when we have pockets of strength. Retail comes when every or most of the shit coins are flying. When your friends are telling, oh, I made money with this, I made money with this. I'm like, I was not hearing this. It was like for 1 week, I don't remember exactly, like after or before Trump won, or when we heard that Trump won, but immediately after he came with the altcoins, right? He came with the meme coins, with Trump, with Melania, etc. So it is what it is. Yeah, so as we are speaking, you can see that Bitcoin cannot find the local bottom. And if I look on the weekly chart, very similar to what I showed you on IWM, very similar. Jay, if you if you liked the structure or the potential structure, you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say about Ichimoku. So very similar with IWM. You see how closely related are these structures, right? That's why I said the worst signs for the current market structure for Bitcoin and crypto comes from IWM. We had the TK bullish crossover, and since October 2023, we are just staying, and we stayed above the Kumo on weekly. So even here, well, because I remember I was talking to Christy and I said that we might be somewhere in this area. What's the difference? Which is going to do Ichimoku analysis right now, right? So Kumo, first of all, is still thick, it's green, it's fine, but as you can see, it goes thinner here. But we have some signs that tell us that this might be the top. We have a TK bearish crossover on weekly, so we have Tenkan going under Kijun, right? We have the price. This is the first time, shifters, look, this is the first time in this cycle when the price goes inside the Kumo. So we have a weekly candle. Okay, this can be a false break, fuck it. But I'm talking about the current price action. Here we had the bounce from the upper area of the Kumo, right? So from the upper side of the Kumo. Here we didn't even touch the Kumo. So on all of these ones, when the drops were coming, the Kumo was still supportive on the weekly, and I'm on the weekly, as you can see here. So the Kumo was still supportive. Now, this is the first weekly candle. So we have the TK bearish crossover. We have the Kumo, which is going thinner, and we have a weekly candle inside the Kumo. On top of that, remember what I just said 10 minutes ago on IWM? Besides the TK bearish crossover that we saw, there is another crossover that happens, and it's happening right now for the first time this cycle, is this one. We have the Kijun piercing the price structure, but we also have Kijun under, sorry, not Kijun, Chiku. So the lagging span, the green one, we have it in the price structure, which is sometimes neutral, but when it goes also under Kijun, this is bearish, especially on weekly. Never this cycle, check here, even check here, right? Never this cycle, since we broke above it, and we broke above it here when it was 30,000. So when we went after this consolidation period above 31,000, and I started buying again Bitcoin a few more times, it's the first time when we have the lagging span, which is the last confirmation, the lagging span going inside the price structure and going under Kijun is the first time. So we have two bearish crossovers, which are very, like very big signals, and plus the third one, which is the price inside the Kumo. I have no idea how the price is going to close this week. I don't do predictions. I don't have like a crystal ball, but I see what I see. And this comes as a reconfirmation of the things that I planned before, trade the plan, plan the trade, trade the plan. I said under 98, I'm neutral. And I said that under 92, I have to be bearish because of the price structure. On top of it, and as you saw, right, this evening, I didn't start with Ichimoku. This evening, I started with price structures. I accepted what Aryan said. I looked for some bullish things, but I have like pieces of the puzzle which tell me that this might be the cycle top. How brutal is going to be this bear market? I have no idea. I don't care how brutal is going to be this bear market. I'm going to deal with it step by step, like we dealt with the price step by step on the upside, right? On the upside, we're going to deal with the price step by step to the freaking downside, okay? But I don't want to not speak about these things. One of the best things that we have in Paradigm is transparency. One of the best things that we have in Paradigm is communication, debate. We have this, I can talk to you directly, and this is not, I mean, you cannot say that this is coming out of the blue. This is not the first time when you hear me talking about these levels, right? Even if 4 weeks ago, I was looking at bullish things, we had maybe some good momentum, we are still consolidating, but since then, level by level, I said, listen, if we lose 112, it's a problem. Under 108, most likely we can target 1.5, and after that 100. I don't want to lose 198, because if you lose 198, the next target is going to be 92, and under 92, I have to be bearish. And this is it, shifters. I have to be bearish here. This looks like distribution, and this looks like a bearish trend unfolding. The first target, like I just said a few moments ago, is around this area, which is very close, around 85, 86. And the second target is going to be around 74. How will the price develop? No idea. It can be a shallower bear market. It can be like my price target, full prediction, no idea if it's going to be true or not. It's going to be around this level, around 50, 52. That's it. No emotion, no nothing. It's better to discuss about these things. It's better to be prepared than to, and maybe even take some action from now. Let's just say you're in some altcoins, right? And they are down 70%. I just gave you the explanation that some altcoins in this moment, the last cycle, they were down 70%. And after that, they dropped another 80 to 95%. I know it's not easy. And I would not recommend to take harsh decision. Sleep over it. Because if this is the start of the bear market and Bitcoin is going to drop another 40 to 50%, it's not going to drop until tomorrow. Okay? Take it easy, look at your portfolio, see which are the weaker ones, maybe exit fully from the weaker ones and build a stable coin stack. But from the stronger ones, maybe just exit slowly, like 15, 20% now. Maybe we have a bounce, another 15, 20%. But as long as Bitcoin, looking at this level, stays under 108 and even under 112, this is most likely the start of a bear market. And it has another problem. And I think we spoke about this. And I said, listen, even if it bounces, right? This can be the shoulder, this can be the head. And even if we see a bounce, right? Let's say we see a bounce around this area. This can be a head and shoulders from here, okay? When I'll start shorting on the next bounce, even from here, from 92,000, it would have been a good short. So under 92,000, it would have been a good short, but I don't want to rush it. Because again, if this is the, listen, we might be, let me see, how does it look? This was the distribution. This is the, we might be somewhere here, okay? So we might be somewhere around this area after the first distribution. This is the first distribution, okay? And this is the first distribution. We might have like a drop towards, like I said, some levels from here. And we might have a bounce, and then the next bounce and rejection, I can start shooting. And if this is the case, ask the guys who are here since the last bear market. We shorted the fuck out of the market. Short. So much shorts until I told you here, one of the guys who is not here in the group anymore said, what? You're not shorting anymore? We are buying? It feels so weird. So I have no reason to hurry. You're gonna have so many opportunities to short. If this is the start of the bear market, you're not gonna imagine. But I want to make like a big statement. If you have some post-its, please write it down. The most violent rallies that you will see, maybe even more violent than the bull run, happen on altcoins during the bear market. So you will have some strong bounces, like very strong bounces. Look here, Bitcoin here bounced 50%. When Bitcoin bounced here 50%, a lot of people said, oh, this is not the bear market, okay? For me, for here, look, this is what I said, that this is the bear market. Maybe here, if I think about it, we didn't have the group then. I also thought maybe there is a chance to recover, but when we lost this structure, it was done for me. Here, how much Bitcoin bounced? 23%. Here it was full bear market, right? Bitcoin bounced 45%. When Bitcoin bounces 45% like that for a few weeks, altcoins can bounce 300, 400, 500% from those lows. So be very, very careful. Please remember this episode and please remember my statement. If we're going to short, or if you're going to, because we will short, when we're going to short in the next bear market, and let's say you want to do also that, please be very careful with your stop losses. Always use the stop loss and be very careful with the market structures. And whenever the downtrend move starts to wobble and we don't have so much downward momentum, and we can see for 2-3 days that Bitcoin is stabilizing, and after that for a week it closes above some highs, like it happened here, right? Be very careful. Be very, very careful, because you can really get damaged. A lot of people lost a lot of money during this phase, not because they were long, not because they were longing, but because they were shorting, and they were shorting in a downtrend, and still they got wiped out. I had a lot of DMs, unfortunately. Okay, good. So total cap, we spoke about it. As you can see, we're losing $3 trillion. Total three. There is one thing that for me, and I'll speak about it in the end. ETH was looking good, but it's not looking good. Okay. It was looking a little bit better earlier today in the morning, but Ethereum most likely heads for the previous support, which was the previous resistance. So 2,700 is the next area. This is the next area actually for ETH. 2,785, followed by the level above which you broke back then, which is around 2,000. This was 2,310. I don't remember exactly those levels, but this makes sense. 2,360, 50. These are the levels for ETH. I'm gonna revisit them. And I remember another level being around 2,145, if I remember correctly. I'll revisit them. Yeah, this is also another. This is what I said. Jay is asking, what do you think about Ethereum barely making all-time high this cycle if this is the top? This is another reason why I think that the bear market is going to be muted, right? So if most of the altcoins, if Bitcoin drops another 45% from here, is the it's a very high possibility if Bitcoin, again, if Bitcoin goes towards 50, it's a very high possibility that we can buy Ethereum around 1,000. I would not be surprised. Obviously, this Adam and Eve is invalidated. Yeah, but there are some other levels of this. Is another level around 1,000. How much is this? 1,500 is another area. It is what it is. What? In the next bear market, or in this bear market that is upon us very soon, we're going to have a lot of opportunities to buy our favorite altcoins. But prepare from now. Total cap, total 3. And if you needed more reasons, here it is another reason. Where was the last time when I saw this? I don't even remember. So the last time was in December, but this was because of the MiCA regulations, when we had some USDT market cap dropping. And look here. So we printed 500 million again, but in the last 7 days, we dropped from 184 billion to 183 billion 500, most likely is going to show here. So we dropped. It's going to be the first time, and you'll see that it's going to show that USDT burned. And if you remember, I said when they print, we have the green laser eyes is fine, but when they're gonna start burning, most likely people are reclaiming. And this is also was another indicator last cycle that the bear market has started. Okay. Let's speak about this. It's much easier when we speak about it. I might be wrong, of course, I might be wrong. And I hope I'm wrong, like Arian says, but price action is price action. And market structures are market structures. I cannot look at this. Like we're at 88,700 and something. This screams top here, like distribution, and screams for the next level. It's like around 80, 82. And after that, this one. Well, not valid. None of the on-chain. I'm very curious because I'm, like I said, I'm subscribed to a lot of things. I'm subscribed to Glassnode. I'm subscribed to a lot of newsletters. And in the end, and the things that I'm learning about fundamental on this market, and in the end, guys, ladies, zero from 30 indicators from the previous cycle, P cycle top, which everybody was, giving examples. Ribbon, whatever you want, call the name, Puel, even Puel is not showing a cycle top. So zero from 30, Sammy. I just made a post a few days ago. I think it's on my Twitter profile pinned, if I remember correctly. Yeah, zero. Look at this. We can speak about it. Hold on. What's wrong? I can tell you what's wrong. So Bitcoin AHR index, P cycle top, Puel multiple, Bitcoin rainbow chart, days of ETS net outflows. Now this should be different a bit. ETF to BTC ratio, 2-year moving average multiplier, MMVRV, Bitcoin bubble index, USDT flexible savings, RSI, altcoin season index, Bitcoin dominance, Bitcoin long-term hoarder supply. None of this, were showing last on the weekly close and open. They were showing zero. Look, zero from 30, and they say still hold. So what's wrong? I tell you what's wrong. All of these on-chain indicators were built last cycles when we didn't have institutional investors, and all of these were being calculated and developed based on how retail was acting before. That's why, in conclusion, the best indicator that you can have is market structure and price action. That's it. No other indicator. No other indicator. And if we're looking at price action and market structure, under 98 was the first sign, and 92 is the confirmation. That's it. Bitcoin dominance is dropping, but not for the good reasons. Because, oh, I forgot about the cherry on the bearish cake. This puppy. How many times have we mentioned 5.83? Unfortunately, USDT dominance for our bags, right? For future growth, couldn't make or didn't make another lower low, right? So as you can see from here, it was higher than this one, and it just continued higher. Here at 5.83, we have been staying under 5.83 since February 2024, all right? So this area was absolutely massive. We had rejection after rejection here, rejection and drop, rejection and drop, rejection and drop. And all of these rejections meant very nice rally for Bitcoins and for a lot of altcoin sectors. Now, if I needed another reason, is the first time when, this is not the first time, this is the second time. Look here, we also had another time. So that's why I said, listen, I still want to see the weekly close, and I still want to see how the weekly is going to open, and after that. But if this is not the cycle top, this is going to be like an amazing opportunity to buy Bitcoin, not altcoins. But we come from a totally different structure. Uh, because look, this was the lower high and this was the lower high. Now, this might be the first time when we have a clear candle above the previous lower high. So, you know, I'll wait. I have patience, but the signs like this one, where is it? This one. This one, like, okay, where is the market structure? This one that we're losing 92,000. The signs are there, shifters. I would rather talk with you. I'd rather prepare you psychologically and also emotionally and also your bags, because I still think that there is something to be made here. You can still take some actions. I know it's not pretty to think to sell something that is already 70% down, but you can do it. Or prepare emotionally to average your altcoins, or prepare emotionally to start buying some freaking Bitcoin. Bitcoin first, build a big Bitcoin stack, buy Bitcoin regularly in this bear market, and you're gonna come out in a much, much better shape. You'll see. Bitcoin will not offer you amazing returns going forward, right? But if you have zero Bitcoin and you buy on the way down, maybe you're gonna have, I don't know, let's just say 60,000 as an average price, because you're going to buy on the way down and maybe on the way up. You're going to have like 60,000 on your average price. And when already Bitcoin is going to be 120 again, just on that position, you have a 2x. It's not pretty. Alexandra says it's not pretty. It's a big understatement. I know, Alex. I know. I wish I would, you know, be in a different position. But you have also to admit, you and maybe others, that if you would have started with Bitcoin and Bitcoin would have been your biggest stack right now, you would not be in an ugly situation, or you would be in a prettier situation. But there is no shade of gray right now, you know, there's no 50 shades of gray if we are talking about this. It's black or white. You just either accept that we start the bear market, or just don't accept it and we're just gonna follow the price and you're just gonna let the price decide if it's a bear market or not. But regardless of what's gonna happen forward, I think that the conclusion and what I would do, right? Let's just say I would be like 70% lower from here. I would see if these are some altcoins that make sense. If not, I would just fully port them to Bitcoin, fully port those altcoins. I would stay in some Solana, I would stay in Hype, I would stay in BNB, I would stay in Aster. And I'm just mentioning Aster just because I don't like to bet against CZ, and he has almost unlimited firepower, right? So I will stay in some market leaders. Aerodromes looks also absolutely fucking amazing. So I'll also put that on my list. And I would just buy those, you know, 3, 4 maximum altcoins. But I would start with Bitcoin. And I know it sounds crazy. Oh, Bitcoin is too expensive. Don't think about Bitcoin as something that you're going to get rich from these levels, or just think about Bitcoin that you're still going to have an investment which is going to offer you one of the most important things that Bitcoin offers you is participation to the market while offering downside protection. Not only downside protection, but also volatility protection, right? So you can combine those. When prices are going to be all over the place, Bitcoin is going to offer to you stability. So think about that. Whenever you built your portfolio before, take it as a lesson if you didn't have Bitcoin, because it meant that you built your house without a solid foundation. You just started with the walls. You didn't start with foundation. Think about Bitcoin as your foundation and make your foundation solid, because if the land that you have is like this and your foundation is this and your house is this, most likely it's going to crumble or it's going to be shaky. But you build your foundation like this, and on top of that, you can build your altcoin portfolio. But your foundation has to be solid. And your foundation, and again, since the last bear market, I said Bitcoin is going to be my biggest stack. I did this. Some of you follow, some of you didn't. And I also said that I will always do my best to have between 10 to 15% always free as stablecoin. So keep this in mind for the next bull run, for the next bear market, but for the next bull run, right? Whenever you're going to build and you're going to start building your future bull run portfolio, Bitcoin, your biggest stack, I would say 50% higher, right? And all the time have between 10 to 15% in stablecoins. And how can you manage that? Let's say you have 50% in Bitcoin and you have 35% in altcoins and you have 15% in stablecoin. Whenever percentage-wise, if Bitcoin and the altcoins go higher, right, you start selling until you balance that out. If you see that percentage-wise, your stablecoin stack goes from 15 to 10 and under 10, you start selling some of the altcoins that are performing, so you can increase back your stablecoin size to 15%. Although it's not going to be the most sexiest approach, and the, you know, the FOMO approach, or I don't know even how to say it, the Gen Z approach, the dynamic approach, the gambling approach, the hot approach, the dynamic approach, like I said, is going to be the approach that is going to make you outperform most of these fuckers who have no idea what they are doing, or most of the people who are just tourists or are trying to farm your emotions. Right now, I cannot wait for the 20 seconds. So Saturday, most likely next Monday, I'll do the update on the portfolio, and you'll see what is my performance still now with Bitcoin, most of it. Could I have done better this cycle? For sure, I could have done better. For example, I could have exited faster the EtherFi position. But I didn't expect that shit to happen on the markets, right? I could have done like a much swifter switch back to Bitcoin. But I also play in Romanian play does not so. I'm also here to win, right? So I didn't want to move that Bitcoin stack to move it so fast. Okay, I did from 25% in Bitcoin. I raised my Bitcoin allocation to 37%, I think, at some point. So it was fine. I just raised my Bitcoin allocation to 12%, but that rotation, I thought that is going to be the start maybe of some sort of an all season, and I can double that Bitcoin stack based on previous cycles. I didn't, and I took a loss on that, and I just moved it back to Bitcoin. But even with this type of approach, where I stayed most in Bitcoin and I didn't do the proper rotations, I promise you, when I'm going to do the calculations, most likely I outperformed a lot of people in this market. The majority of the people in this market, the majority of retail like we are not on plus right now. I don't think that they are on plus. Why? Because they didn't start with Bitcoin. Why? Because reasons. But if we made the mistakes, and I said we, like if you made these mistakes last cycle or this cycle that is just ending right now, guess what? The market is going to give you another opportunity for you to fix those mistakes. So start with a solid foundation, and on top of it, you can build your portfolio. But please don't go for, like, again, crazy dilution. I had received some DMs with people who had 20 altcoins. You're not gonna make it from 20 altcoins. I know it's like you're trying to like put more bullets here, 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 here. It's not gonna work like that. 10% from $5,000 is not the same with 10% from $500. 10% is 10%, but nominal value, it's way bigger difference. Okay, we can speak about that also. All right, last part of the show. Again, I hope I'm wrong, but most likely I'll take some decisions this evening or tomorrow morning. I'm going to see the daily close, and I'll see what I'll do. Maybe I'll just move 50% of them to stablecoin. I'll see, or to Bitcoin, and I'll update the portfolio next week. Last part of the show. Let me know what altcoins do you want me to chart for your shifters. And until you give me some altcoins, I'll show you another chart. I just showed you the weekly BTC chart. That was the weekly BTC chart. But I had it on the screen for how much we spoke. This was the one. Not this one. This is the one. No, this is the one. This is the one. 92 here. I'm trying, as you can see, I'm trying, right, to give it like a higher low, but if we're honest, we know that we're pushing it. And on daily, and this is the weekly. On daily, look, you want to see the daily chart with Ichi? You're not gonna like it. Come on. You know that this was a reliable indicator. And I'll tell you what's gonna happen based on how this is looking. we're gonna tap some of these levels. So I have no idea if we're gonna stop at 85, maybe pick up some liquidity. Kijun is gonna start turning flat. And from here, we're gonna have a bounce. And people will say, oh, this is the bottom. This is the like we started forming like a clear downtrend, like a clear downtrend. And look where this is the area that I told you about first, like look 104, 105. And look at 100. When 100 was lost, it was another confirmation, 198. This is it. And we're very far. I think we can bounce from 86 or some of these levels. So in this cluster from here, so in this area from here, we can find the bounce. So here is gonna come a bounce, but on that bounce, a lot of people go, oh, no, that bounce has a lot of freaking work to do, a lot. That bounce, based on the structure and how the structure is gonna look, that bounce has to take it. Looks December has to take it back above 100, back above 100 and how much is here? 108, 109, 108. Without that, and just by the how this is looking, right? So this is how most likely it's gonna develop. What is this? Okay, so somewhere in January, I think this is the best case scenario that I can think about, the best case scenario. And I don't know if this is gonna happen, but this is wishful thinking. Would you consider a strong altcoin, one with a big market cap, HNT? I don't know. I have mixed feelings about HNT because it's like it's the pariah of the alts. Nobody wants to touch it. Exchanges want to delist it. Nobody's gonna speak. Nobody's speaking about it. I'll take a look at it. So to wrap up with Bitcoin and coming back to your altcoins, Bitcoin looks bearish. Starts to look bearish on weekly, full bearish on daily, but it was already full bearish on daily. And you don't even need Ichimoku. You absolutely don't need Ichimoku. Look at this. Does this chart look bearish to you? Because if you flip it outside, it looks absolutely bullish. So, like so, it's again, we lost 92. And this was another chart for Jay and for everybody. This was another chart with levels. This was demand and it was green. This was demand, it was green, and all of them were flipped to supply. So the middle of this range is the next area. Somewhere around here. 83, 84 would be the next area. We broke above 86 there, so yeah. This is demand here. From here, we're gonna bounce, most likely, and that's it. If you want to sell altcoin to stable or remove Bitcoin, would you not wait for the bounce and do it now? Yeah, but the problem, very, very legit question comes from Alexander. If you want to sell altcoins to stable or even Bitcoin, would you not wait? Why not would you? Why not wait for the bounce and do it now? Because you do not know where the bounce is going to come from, right? The bounce can come from here and it's still, right? It's still another 5, 6, 7%, 5, 6, 7%, depending on the velocity of the future drop. This can mean another 15 to 25% on your altcoins, lower, right? So losing another 15 to 25% from your altcoin. But what percentage? Like I have no way to calculate what's gonna be the percentage that we're gonna bounce from here. What if Bitcoin slices lower, right? And it's dropping, I don't know, 10, 15%. Well, if Bitcoin is going to drop 10, 15% from here before it's finding a local bottom, your altcoin that you could have sell now is going to drop another 35 to 40%. So this is the answer for your question. Like, okay, it's dropping from here, and on that bounce, you don't know if it's going to bounce to the level where we have it now. Maybe it's going to drop and it's going to bounce a little bit lower. So you'd still be in a much better shape to sell it now. But again, I would not sell it fully. If I would be in a position, I would not sell it fully. Like I would exit here, I would exit here, I would exit here. After that, if a bounce comes, depending on how strong it is, I would exit there, there. And I don't know. For me, this is the cycle top. And I know it's not pretty. And most likely, I can see that there is a bit of conflict inside you shifters. And I call a spade a spade. 98 and 92, these are the levels. And on the way up, Bitcoin has a lot of work to do. So this is bearish. And let's say this is gonna find the bottom 199, no, 108. This is the level. Under the current structure, Bitcoin can reclaim bullish things above 108. I'm really, really sorry. I really like, I feel like, I feel like that guy, like the bigger brother who tells you like a hard truth instead of a pretty lie. I remember when we were in the Telegram group of EGLD, and the first time when I mentioned the bear market, a lot of people were very angry with me. During the bear market, a lot of people got very personal towards my, of course, it's not going to happen here in Paradigm. A lot of people got very personal towards me. They called me, I know, Papa Bear. They even now people say, "Oh, he was bearish at 14,000." Yes, under 16,000, I said that most likely Bitcoin is going to go to 12. It didn't go to 12. It went to 14. Okay, I was wrong. I said 12 and it went to 14. Good. But above 16, 18, I said, I don't think it's a good time to short anymore. And above 21, I start buying. So it is what it is. But again, this is for Alex. What is different now than the PA from 2025, April 2025? Well, let's just see. Very good question from Ashur. Distribution. I wanted to load Ichimoku, but Ichimoku already tells me what I want to hear because I have those confirmations there. Hold on a second. I'll tell you. First of all, we lost those highs from January and February. This was the distribution, 92. Oh, the lows from here. Distribution. Can I draw? It's stretched. Look, Ash. Look. So let's disregard this part, right? Let's disregard this part. Don't look at that part. Don't look at this. If I didn't have this, with what I would connect it, right? Let's just say I wanted to draw a trend line to start counting higher highs and higher lows. Let's just say I draw it with this. And I connect it. Rarely I connect wicks, rarely. But just for the sake of the argument that we're gonna have now, I'm gonna connect it with the top of the wick or the bottom of the wick. You know that most of the time I do this, which would be even more bearish for what we see. But I'm gonna connect it just for you and for your argument, just to debate it. I would connect it with the wick. Okay. I'm gonna connect the highs. The highs. I do my best as I can. The difference is that I could have connected these lows from here. Let's see if I can connect it with these lows. Look. Here, if I started from this area right here, right? And I would connect it with this. I wanted to connect with somewhere here, right? So I connected with these lows. I cut those lows. And even now, where would you want me to connect it so we can still be bullish? Like, okay, yesterday we connected here, right? Before this 3-day candles. And now what do? I just move it forward for like how much I move it here. You know what I mean? Price action is price action shifters. And here, this is secondary to market structure. The market structure changed dramatically under 100. So here, when we lost these lows from here, and under 98. And as you can see, very like often, because we had way more a bullish bias, we spoke about conviction candles to the upside. But look at this conviction candle to the downside. So rejection. We didn't have any close under 100. Look here. Let me show you. Where is the 100 area here, right? So rejection, rejection, rejection. And the moment we had a slice under 100, look at the conviction candle. This is a conviction candle, shifters. And let's just say that was not important, but we had another daily, it's not daily close. Our daily closes, look how many rejections we had. And this is the redistribution. And once that happened, we had a clear conviction candle under 100 area. And not only that, we don't find bounces, shifters. Where are the bounces here? If this was still some sort of a local bottom, why we are not bouncing? Why we are slicing through? Sorry. This was a conviction candle, and this is another conviction candle. And we just took out the previous low from Tuesday, and we are just printing a new low here. This is just, I'm sorry. You might not like what I'm saying. You might disagree with me, but this screams for lower prices. At what point, what I want to point out is that we drop from 100K to 76 and bounce to 100. True. So how much was this drop? 32%. It means that we should stop somewhere here, and after that go for all-time high. I hope it happens. The difference is that we lost very important areas, and back then we were still above very important areas. So let's just see, man. Let's just see. I want to be wrong, shifters. I really, really want to be wrong, but it does not feel like it. Plus, we have all the other confirmations. We have the other, like, what's the difference here? Where was it here? 9th April 2025. I'll double check something for you, shifters, here. Let me show you so everybody can see this. When we dropped, right? When we dropped here, this was April. See? And this is the USDT dominance. This shows me that more money is going back to stablecoin here. Let's just hope that this is, and we're gonna see some amazing reaction from here, and just like this transform again into a false break, but I doubt it. And again, shifters, how many times this cycle, just think about it, like, take a deep breath, Alexandra and everybody else, take a deep breath. And how many times you heard me saying that I'm bearish on weekly? How many times you heard me calling for a bear market this cycle? I have to call a spade. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, well, most likely is a duck. Yep. No, it's very, very hard for me to find to still find. And even here, Ash, I think you were here with us, right? Do you remember here in this structure, did I ever mention bear market or cycle top here? Never. I said, like, I think people are in a hurry to call this the cycle top. This can be, you're not here. Oh, so what you can do, take from November 2024 until April 2025 and check the weekly EMAs and listen if you just even once I mentioned cycle top or even once I mentioned bear market. I can guarantee if you find that, every time when you hear me saying here, this is the cycle top, this is the bear market, I give you $100 every time. In any EMA from November 2024 until April 2025, every time when you hear me saying bear market here, I give you $100. Yeah, look. So every time when you're gonna hear me saying bear market, that this is the bear market, and most likely we start with the bear market, every time I'm gonna give you $100, and you don't have to give me anything. And since we're talking, right? So for how much time do we have the AMA? For 2 hours. In the last 2 hours, so here, we dropped another 1.1%, and we took out the lows from Tuesday. So we printed new lows. We can speak how much we want shifters, but the price just tells us what is happening. Okay. Now, even Aster, which was looking extremely nice, most likely is going to have another 10% correction at least. Look, I saved some of the altcoins that I was looking at, and they still have some chances, but most likely, look, NI is also going to drop. How much? Well, from the last highs, I don't see how NI is not tapping 0.2 area again. But again, even ENA can be a good allocation, right? Has amazing upside potential for the next quarters, because ENA is not going to disappear, right? It's still going to be there. Maybe it's going to take a little bit longer than some others and than some leaders, but ENA is a solid fucking project. All of these drops can be extremely good discounts. A bit 0.2. Imagine if ENA drops towards 0.13. It's a fucking godsend. It is, and a lot of people will shit their pants. If ENA is going to drop from here another 45% and fill this week fully, people are going to shit their pants, but it's going to be an amazing allocation, because from here you're looking at easy 300 up to 500% upside in the next 1 year and something. Do you care? You know you don't. But this is a project that if it's going to drop towards this area, this is the deep value area between 0.2 and 0.13. And just buy ENA and just forget about it, and you just leave it there. You're going to have in 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 200, 300%, because it will bounce at some point in time, whatever is going to happen from here. Aster. Well, let's say that we start the bear market and Aster drops 50%. From 0.65, you're looking at, again, 200, 250% easy for the next years. If BNB does not disappear, and if BNB disappears, all the fucking altcoin market is gone. CZ is going to do also his best to have a fierce competitor for hyper liquid. And there is another one which is coming very strong from behind. It's lighter, and he knows about it. So he's going to do his best to have Aster as his DEX. XRP. Must hold on a deeper correction. It didn't hold on a deeper correction. And now we have Ripple back at 2 area. Well, guess what? If Ripple drops to 1.4 and fills the week to 1, Ripple is also a buy. Next target for Ripple is 2 area. And after that, under 2, anything is open down to 1.4. So how much this overdrop? Even towards 1 area, between 30 to 50%. This is what we've been talking about. See, Alexandra, even in the last hour, they dropped another 6%. They can drop anywhere between 35 to 50%. That's it. So Ripple, bearish. I cannot wait to have another update on it. Next big support is 2, and be careful how it with the reactions around 2. BNB. If you want to short this cycle, please don't short BNB, please. We had those bounces. Actually, we had the rallies. We didn't have the bounces. I don't need the runaway breakout. I don't need this area anymore. This was valid here. Under 900, first target is 840, followed by 795, 800, followed by 741. And if this is happening, this would mean a total of a 46% drop. My expectations are for BNB to be among the strongest altcoins of the bear market. We know how they operate, so they're gonna sell the shit out of the other altcoins, right, through their market makers, and they're gonna prop the price of BNB. So BNB should be on our radars also for some allocations. If this is gonna drop, 46, 50% from the highs, let's just say it's gonna reach again around 500. Well, you're looking at an easy 2.5x just on BNB. But this is a downtrend, so I don't need this anymore. Full downtrend even on BNB. Please don't short BNB on futures. Don't try to be a hero. You have so many other shitcoins, altcoins that you can short. Don't try to be a hero on this. You just waited on a discount, another 35-40% drop if we have it, and you just buy it on spot, and that's it. Sweet. I have to say, this is one of my disappointments. I thought that Sui is going to be way stronger. I thought that Sui is going to perform much better than this. It didn't. So this is the last analysis on Sui. It had the demand area, but obviously on the red October, it sliced through it. And since then, even though it recovered, this is for Alexandra, but also for everybody else. This is the nature of a bearish structure. You can think about, look at this. This is what's happening in a bearish structure. Look at Sui. And after that, look at Bitcoin. Look at Sui, look at Bitcoin, look at Sui, look at Bitcoin, right? So whenever buyers fail to print another higher low, right? Every time when we have a bounce, it's just a bearish retest. Break to the downside, bearish retest. Break to the downside, bearish retest. So this is the answer to your previous question. Sui under 1.75. The next target is 1.16, 1.15 area. So it's a massive area. I expected another like 20-25% drop. And here we are. And any type of bounce that is going to happen, it's not going to stop. It would be weird to stop in the middle of the chart right here. If this bounce, it can be sold. Anything that does not reclaim 1.75 area can be used for another short. And here we are. I know maybe this was not what you ladies and gentlemen were expecting this evening, but like I said a few times before, in my opinion, it's better to have these conversations plain out loud, maybe even a bit brutal conversations, so you can be prepared mentally, psychologically, and also financially for your next steps. First, build the foundation with Bitcoin. If you don't want to gather or if you don't want to add more funds, look at Bitcoin BTC pairs, draw your weekly levels, draw your market structures, post them on the chat. Ask me in DM if you feel a bit awkward to post on the chat. I don't know why would you feel, because everybody's here to help and we can speak about it. But if Bitcoin is going to drop, your altcoins are going to drop in their BTC pairs. With that being said, I want you guys to be optimistic, because 99% the majority of the people will be pessimistic and very pessimistic going forward. And these are going to be the times where we can actually be more prepared than them. It's not pretty to speak about the start of a bear market, but you can still take some actions. You can still build your Bitcoin stack now. And by doing this, even without bringing more money from home, by flipping to Bitcoin now, a bigger part of your portfolio, we can think about some rotations. You can talk with me. We can have the discussions. The worst thing that you can do is just give up, because most of the people will give up now. With that being said, I want to wish you a wonderful evening. See you on the chat, see you on the charts, and see you tomorrow for the premium AMA. Bye, shifters. Have a wonderful night.